Tema, so let's begin with a few deep breaths. Let's take 3 deep breaths. Close your eyes. And as you breathe, bring your attention to the breath. And as you exhale, silently chant Om if you're familiar with that. Or you may just simply say to yourself silently, I'm relaxed. Let's do that. Chanyaji introduced the concept of dinacharya, which is a daily discipline or a routine. So I want to begin with why do you need a routine? Because in the modern day world that we live in, we always ask the question why, is it not? We don't seem to agree and accept something without understanding why. It's very different from our previous generation where when I grew up, if my mom were to say something to me, when I asked why, she would say, I didn't ask this to my parents, so you better accept and follow what I'm saying, that's not how we live our life. So simply, I just wanted to investigate why. What comes to your mind when you hear the word routine? Just quickly, just one word. Anybody? Work. Okay. Repetition. Okay. What routine, simply put, that's all good. What simply put, routine is stability, right? And stability counteracts instability. And instability is a core reason to the cause of stress, right? As Janyaji mentioned, the core principle behind the dinacharya concept in Ayurveda is again being in rhythm with the nature, with the outer world. And it relates to bringing the synchronization, if you will, between the macrocosm, which is what exists in the outside world, with the microcosm, which is what exists inside you. Ayurveda approaches stress management more holistically. It brings about the connection between body, mind, and soul, and offers guidelines across the three. It also emphasizes, or I would say it really emphasizes, the practice of these routine as a lifestyle. Incorporate these into your everyday living, as opposed to some of the modern day solutions. If you were to Google stress management, you could say vacations, and we live in a very commercial world. People talk about exotic locations that you could go to, annual vacations that you want to bring in as a practice, and so on and so forth. But it does not work that way. You cannot indulge in causative factors of stress throughout the year and expect to go to an exotic vacation and de-stress. Ayurveda emphasizes you need to live your life in a way that is going to bring about the stress levels. And also what happens these days, then everybody get to, I need to go to all these exotic vacations, then you put it in your financial plan. You think you need to save a lot more money to be able to take those vacations. It brings about the stress anyway. So it's a vicious cycle that we live in. So I would introduce the basic concept of dinacharya. The 24-hour day is divided into 6 periods of 4 hours each. And each period is aligned to one of the 3 doshas. Now, I want to take a quick check. Raise of hands. How many people are familiar with the 3 dosha concept of Ayurveda? Okay, I see a few hands going. So as you come to these sanghas or watch our YouTube videos, you will become more familiar. But for now, for the purpose of this session, I just want to put it in basic terms. There are three doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Think of it as a combination of the 5 elements that Janyaji covered, right? Vata being space and air. So the one term that you want to remember when I say Vata, and I try to not use these jargons as much as possible, think of movement. When Pitta is fire and water, those are the 2 elements, and think of transformation in this context, digestion, metabolism. Kapha is, constitutes of water and earth, and think about grounding as the word. With that background, so what does the 24-hour cycle looks like? And that's what it looks like. Let's start with sunrise, which is 6 a.m. And you must have heard this. This is not a new concept. A lot of articles will tell you want to be up by 6 a.m. Why so? In Ayurvedic terms, that's when the kapha is in the air, which is, as we said, is grounding. However, you are trying to begin your day. You're trying to get moving in the day. So you want to counteract. So if you are still in bed at 6 a.m., you are allowing that grounding effect to build inside you. It becomes harder to wake up. That's why if you have your alarm set up, many of us have that experience at 5:30, and if you refuse to wake up and put it in snooze, and you get to 6:30, it becomes harder and harder, right? So definitely challenge yourself to wake up by 6 a.m. And this is also the time that you want to take a light breakfast, and if you are exercising in the morning, which is recommended, let the exercise be light. As you get to 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., again, you want to visualize, the sun rising, and between 10 to 2 is when the sun is at its peak. Sun equates fire, and as I just said, fire equates transformation. So that is why noon is supposed to be the best time of the day to have a bigger meal, which is your lunch, right? And this also helps your digestion to work at its best, so you can digest that bigger meal that you are having. Digestion also means that you can process and digest information. So this is also the best period to get most of your day's work done, right? However, in the modern day world that we live in, this multitasking used to be, something that you claim on your resume, saying, I'm a great multitasker, or it would be a job requirement. But it is a myth, right? In fact, I'm happy that of late there are researchers out that talks about multitasking being a myth. So I want to encourage you to be careful between this time to not overdo. In fact, the job that I was in previously to the current one, the last 6 months of it, there was a huge campaign against multitasking. And there used to be a little thing that we can keep in our tables as we attended that's when you really, when you are in a phone conference, you are hearing a meeting and you are typing something else and somebody walks on and so forth. So this the thing would say, be here now, as a reminder that if you're doing one thing, be in that task. So I want to encourage you to start incorporating this one little thing. As the day progresses, between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., the Vata takes over, which is movement. So you may feel a little, lightheaded at this point. And as Janyaji mentioned, do not run to your coffee machines. Do not take energy drinks with you. Not the time. Take some mindful break. The small practice that we did when we started this section, that is a good, practice for you to incorporate during this time. Again, you can do this silent. You don't need to do, Om chanting loudly. If you are, in a crowd, feel free to just close your eyes and just take a couple of deep breaths. And this would be also a good time to take a short walk, get out of your cubes if you're in the corporate world or wherever you are working, and do a nature walk. Again, I find in my own office, we started a walking club. What happened was, as we were walking together, we were talking about all the stressful meetings between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and talking about people and attitude and so on and so forth. It's counterproductive. So if at all possible, recommend silent, walk by yourself, connect with the nature. And as you come back home, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., it's again kapha season, and you want to have a light dinner. And this is definitely, I call it digital fast. these days, again, iPads and iPhones and TVs and whatnot, right? So want to do not indulge in all these electronic devices. Do a digital fast, at least, every once in a while, and spend the time with the family. This is the grounding time, as we were talking about. Kapha equates grounding, so spend quality time with your family. And what I want to do here is I want to demonstrate one very little practice that you can incorporate as you quiet down in preparation for your sleep in the night and relax. Why don't I call upon a volunteer who wants to come and do this? It should hardly take a minute or so. Anybody wants to come up here? And it's a really easy technique. I promise you. You can sit here and put your legs in. So what we have here is oil. I think it's coconut oil. So warm up the coconut oil, or now we are in the heating season, right? End of summer into fall. So you want to use coconut oil, which is cooling. However, as we go into the fall and winter season, use sesame oil, which is slightly more heating. So you want to warm up as much as, not too heat, as much as the heat that you can take. And if you can give him a little in his hand. And this, again, this is called Pada Abhyanga. Pada is foot, and Abhyanga is self-massage. You want to take a little bit of oil and put it on, start with your sole and put it all over your feet. And as you do this, again, Ayurveda, it's all about mindfulness. Whatever you do, do it with mindfulness. So focus on yourself and just feel free to rub it like that on your soles as well. And is it warm enough, Joshua, right? Yeah. Like so, again, quiet time. You don't want to do this while watching TV. That's the key, right? Connect to yourself. Get a light, nice massage. And you can also do that same oil. You can, if you want to make sure it's not too hot, you can put a drop in both of your ears, and as well as on your crown here. What it does is really help you quiet down. It sets the stage for your sleep, especially for people who are suffering from insomnia. Try this every day. Now try this few times a day and see how it connects with you. And you can wipe, and thank you for your time. Again, it's very simple. It's not an extensive thing. It's something that you can incorporate very easily. And this is one of the self-care practices. The Dinacharya, it's hours and hours of lecture that you can do. If you take up Ayurveda formally, if you come here or anywhere else, you would see there's a lot of theory and science behind this. But I didn't want to stress you about stress management, right? That's not our intention. So I wanted to give you one or two basic things you can incorporate throughout this 6 periods in the day that you can incorporate. And then the next one, again, very good for people who have insomnia, is one of the types of pranayama called Brahmari. And I would like Janyaji here again to demonstrate that for you. And this, what I would recommend if you're doing the Pada Abhyanga, get yourself into the bed and then do this pranayama. So what you want to do is to put your thumb fingers on your ears, close your ears, and put your index finger and the middle finger, rest it on the forehead, and put the rest of the two, the ring finger and the pinky, on your eyes. So essentially what you're trying to do is to cut out the senses of the world and connect yourself. And then after this, you want to take a deep breath, and as you exhale, do a little hum. As simple as that. And if you have any questions, welcome to see one of us after the session. And you may want to start with 3 rounds of that, and then work yourself up to doing 10, would be really beneficial. Okay, absolutely. That would be beautiful. Do you want to do that? Yeah, that would be good. Why don't we do 3? So if you can follow along, Janya ji, and try to do 3. Don't worry about getting it right, all right? It's all, the key is starting there. Yes. No mic here.
So the goal also is not to stress your face or your ears, so you just want to gently close and gently press. You don't want to like cover your eyes so that you're pushing your eyeball back into your head or plugging your ears so tight. It's really designed just to block out the stimulus around you. So Rose asked a question, do you press the cartilage or behind it? You don't stick your fingers in your ears, you gently press the cartilage down, or you, depending on how much of a flap you have, use your thumb to cover the ear hole. Again, it's not to completely be a soundproof, it's really just to close off. It's an intentional closing off, just to calibrate and go inside.
Thank you, Janyaji. As you do that, you want to go to bed. You don't want to come back and do rest of your chores, or you want to quiet down. Again, as you practice this, I don't know if some of you noticed it, you would already feel very connected inside and shut down from the external world, and that's the main goal behind that. So from 10 to 2 a.m., again, this is the time, Pitta is again there, but this Pitta is more on transformation. So it's helping you, this time is helping you digest all the food, the meals that you've eaten throughout the day, the thoughts you've processed and the feelings you've had. That is why it is really, really important that you do not want to be up and awake at this time. In fact, the way I got introduced to Vedika Global was through a lecture that Chunya Ji did at a bookstore in Mountain View. And she said, and this was about Ayurveda psychology, and she said, if at all you're taking one thing from this session, it is sleep by 10 p.m. and wake up by 6 a.m. So I want to repeat the same, I don't know how much you caught all of the, different suggestions throughout the day, but if you want to take just one thing, this would be it, definitely go to sleep by 10 p.m. Again, this is not the time, because in modern world, in corporate world especially, what I find is people go back, the children are put to sleep and they go back and start with their laptop, typing up emails and so on. This is not the time to do it. If you really need the extra time, wake up early, which is the next phase, right? So from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, you're back to Vata, which is, again, as I said, movement. So you definitely, it's very helpful to get up during this time, more towards the 4 to 6 a.m., I would say, because there's movement in the ear, so it's helping you wake up, right? And it's also, elimination is also related to movement. So this is why you want to be using this time to get up and finish your morning chores. And some of you may have experienced as you wake up later, like 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m., which is very prevalent these days, that it also leads to long-term practice of that, leads to constipation. On the days that you wake up earlier, you may feel easier to eliminate and go on about your day. So that's, again, like I said, there's a lot of different practices, but do try a few of these things and see what really connects with you. It is not about how many of these practices that you incorporate, it is about the consistency of it. So we talked about food. So I just wanted to give you some, few pointers on what would be the optimal food. Again, this is a very extensive topic. There's videos up in our YouTube channel that you can refer to. Again, how many of you are familiar with the 3 guna concept of sattva, rajas, and tamas? Okay, few of you, and that's okay. So I want you to think of balance when I say sattva, and want you to think about activity when I say rajas. Activity, if it is over, then it leads to anxiety and stress, right? And tamas, more dullness. That's what I want you to relate for the purpose of this session. So what you want to do is to try and incorporate as much sattvic food as possible, which brings about the balance that is needed. Ghee, I'm hoping that many of you are familiar with ghee. If not, there is some information in our website as well as the YouTube channel. We also sell that in our gift shop, which will be open at the end of this section. Feel free to check it out. Khichdi is a very simple preparation. It is a very balancing preparation in Ayurveda. Again, the recipe and the video is available on our YouTube. Suji, which you will learn, today's demo topic is suji. So one of the teachers will demo how to make that. In spiced milk, there are a variety of combinations, or I would say variations of spiced milk. Feel free to refer to our website for more information on it. That is really good, again, for people who have insomnia issues. You may want to end your day with spiced milk. I would say about 45 minutes before you hit the bed. It's really good to have. There's a lot of article about going whole organic foods, so definitely, that is going to be helpful. And it is not just enough for you to have organic food. You want to cook your meals fresh. It is not to say that you can buy organic food, cook it on a Sunday, and keep it for the whole week. Does not work. Want to reduce or balance the rajas and the tamas causing foods, and quickly, rajas is the fried food, overcooked food, the chilies, and so on and so forth, right? And that's most of the fast foods that we have today. Tamas causing foods, again, as I said, old, not good. Refrigeration, try to minimize as much as possible, and try to cook your own food. Do not buy packaged foods from the stores in canned, frozen, or also tamas causing food. So you want to reduce those type of foods. So again, I'm out of time here. So I'm, if you feel like I'm rushing, feel free to come ask us questions after the session. And again, depending on, like I said, I wanted to give you some very few basic practical tips that you can start incorporating. However, depending on the impact that stress is having in your life today, you may want to go deeper into this topic. So if so, I would encourage you to come visit us. We have the low-cost or charity clinics where you can come and see people who are interning or people who are practicing Ayurveda, and we will help you get you checked out on what dosha may be of balance and other factors really causing your stress levels, and we can develop individualized and customized recommendations for you. As well as, again, stress is all about managing life, bringing a perspective on your life. So we have every Thursday, we have the Vedantic Satsanga session. There are about 4 trial classes that you can take. There are brochures available, I think, at the back that you can take and explore this more. So come visit us there for you to get more tips on how to go about managing your life, a holistic way and Ayurvedic way. That's all I have. Jai Ma.